We begin our journey into this Holy Week with the powerful imagery recorded by Matthew in chapter 26, verses 17 to 30. And it's the account of the Last Supper and the call to remembrance. And certainly the events of this week will move quickly toward that point of execution by crucifixion. But for today, we pause as we begin the journey and we reflect to the scene that is before us around the table. Can I suggest to you today that at this table, there are principles, passions, if you would, upon which we need to pause and understand the relationship between the visible and the ordinary, and the invisible and the extraordinary. Church traditions will vary, but yet all agree that every expression of sacrament finds itself in Jesus Christ, his life, his death, and his resurrection. And so the event is historically linked to the Passover events recorded in Exodus 12. But today, it's infused with new meaning as Christ brings fresh perspective to this incredible event that's before us. It's an invitation, really, into a sacred space of remembering the whole of the redemptive story and recounting, if you would, the mighty acts of God that create the opportunity for salvation and for holiness, for ministry and for mission. And so we're brought to this place of remembering where obedient faith and mercy, they just intersect in an incredible way. And so at this table, we see Jesus granting the gift of life to his disciples and to us. At this table, Jesus assures us a place of belonging. Judas is not excluded from the table. Neither is Peter. They're all there. And yet, throughout the hours of the evening leading into that moment of crucifixion, there would be many pointed conversations, and Jesus would remind them that they would all find a place of deserting or betrayal. And yet, in this moment, they all find a place to belong. And so at this table, in these hours, Jesus contrasts, I believe, the realities of faithfulness and betrayal, sincerity and deceit, spiritual struggle and spiritual growth, and all within the community of faith. I believe Jesus calls us to remember that as bread is broken, so are we, so that in our wholeness, we can embrace the mission with God of inviting others to know him who is the bread of life. To remember that as grapes are crushed, so are we, so that we may know the joy of our all being in the Master's hands and the experience of a surrendered life that is transformed and shaped by the holiness of God. At this table, without question, there is mystery. Look past what is seen. Look past what is visible. There is something deeply personal to be experienced for the glory of God. And there is something deeply personal to be embraced for the sake of others. This is not the last meal of a condemned man. Rather, can I suggest that this is the first of many meals where in the kingdom of God our lives are nourished and made whole, where we find a place at the table so that our brokenness is transformed by the power of God, where we are drawn closer to God in life, in mission, and in community. As a sacramental people, Jesus Christ is the center of our lived experience of faith. We remember and we celebrate the unmerited grace, the undeserved gift of God again and again. And in our sacramental living, may the activity and service that shapes our day be guided and sustained by our time at the table, a time that is shaped by an invitation from God to come with open hands and a willing heart to receive grace, to receive that place of belonging, so that in partnership with Him and without selfishness or pride, we experience salvation and we experience holiness of life as we too make room at the table for others. And so, friends, may we be blessed as we begin this week of remembrance.